So, Dream Scenario is the kind of second or third biggest film from Norwegian director Kristoffer Borgli. He did Sick of Myself in 2022. I didn't see that. I haven't seen any of his previous work, but I know Dream Scenario was produced by our man Ari Aster. It's been compared a lot to Beau is Afraid, also Adaptation, the Charlie Kaufman film. So I'm excited to get into it. Movie stars Nicolas Cage as Paul Matthews, a hapless family man who finds his life turned upside down when millions of strangers suddenly start seeing him in their dreams. Of course, Paul, who hasn't really accomplished anything large in his life and who feels his peers are starting to surpass him in writing their books and projects as university professors, suddenly he takes the attention and loves it, but he's perplexed that in all of these dreams, his character never really does anything to help anybody. All of these people are in helpless situations, and he's there, but he doesn't do anything. And as people kind of take a shine to him, he benefits from this, right? He enjoys the new attention. He likes that people are suddenly seeing him as a person. But suddenly, the dreams start to take a turn. And suddenly, Paul does start to act in the dreams, but in the worst way possible. Often comedic, sometimes terrifying, sometimes traumatizing. And suddenly, Paul is on the receiving end of not the love and adoration that people have given him, but the fear and loathing that have come from dreams that he in no way has any control over. It is a dark comedy. It is a unique feature, and an hour, 42 minutes, not too long, not too short, just enough to be interesting, and features a host of guest stars, which I didn't expect, including people like Tim Meadows, Dylan Baker, Scott Pilgrim, which is funny because I had the poster.
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. You'd think I'd have that ready to go. It's a unique feature. Came out late last year. The movie is Dream Scenario. Andy, what'd you think?
I think there's a lot of good ideas in here. There's a lot of potential. I feel like it kind of loses its way about halfway through, but there's a lot of fun scenes. I am fascinated with Paul's character. He feels so inadequate. He does this lecture at the beginning about the zebra and why does the zebra have stripes? And he says it's to blend in with the herd. And he is very much tired of blending in with the herd. He feels he has not gotten recognition for his work. He talks about he's got a book that he wants to write. But then when he's asked about it, he's like, well, I haven't actually written anything yet. He craves recognition from his peers. One of the professors at the university has like these famous house parties that he's dying to get invited to and never does up until he's kind of a little bit more famous. So he craves this renown and attention, and he finally gets it. And instead of kind of thinking his way through this, he just dives right in. He's like, oh no, I'm going to get recognition. I'm going to sign with this agency. And it's one of those, it's a little bit of one of the like a family holiday movie would be like, this person really wants this and they really had the treasure all along in their family. So it starts to go down that trope, but it kind of goes in a direction you don't really think. But the only thing is his character is so unlikable, because he's really like he is this insecure person, but he's also just, man, he's a jerk. He really is. Like, you're not going to get anyone's sympathy.
So let's talk about Nick Cage. We got to talk about Nick Cage. So Nick Cage originally was not going to do this movie. And then he was approached by Ari Aster, who produced the film. Ari Aster went directly to him and said, I think you should do this film. There's something really cool here. Nick Cage had considered retiring after this feature. He looked at this as kind of a trilogy alongside, hear me out, Pig in 2021 and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in 2023. This, along with those two films, is three kind of meta features about the idea of being a star, the idea of being functionally famous, and how other people perceive you through parasocial relationships, right? His character, the chef in Pig, is world-renowned. Everybody knows him, everybody loves him, and he just wants to get away from it. Its character in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is himself, right? Nicolas Cage, like an actor who everybody knows. He's not connected to any of these people. He just wants to be an artist and do his own thing. And Paul Matthews in Dream Scenario is very similar in this idea, but he's kind of the opposite side of it, right? Like, Paul Matthews is somebody who has not accomplished a lot, but would love the opportunity. And I saw a Reddit comment in the reviews for this thread. Chris Rock has a joke. Chris Rock says, a man's only as honest as his options, right? And Paul Matthews fits this to a T, because Paul Matthews is a pretty good dude right up until he starts to get the absurd amount of acclaim and benefit that comes from something that he in no way has control over. And then things start to turn. Then he starts to be like, you know what, I want this my way. And I think you're stealing my work for your project. And yeah, you know what, I would never cheat on my wife, but that woman over there at that bar is pretty attractive. Maybe I'll go chat with her. And a lot of that produces, I think, really interesting scenarios for Cage to just crush it on screen. Like, he is wildly unlikable. Paul Matthews is not a likable dude to me at all. I couldn't stand him, down to the haircut, which apparently Cage picked himself. But like on the other end of that, you end up with a film that starts to feel long and a character who you don't really spend a lot of time understanding because everybody's so damn scared of him. He is awkward in the best way. He's shameful and he's afraid to talk to people. And but God, like, my social anxiety comes out of when I see Cage doing this character, so I can totally relate to that level of it. But man, like, he's just not a fun protagonist to watch. Like, he was a real slog for me.
Yeah, usually a character like this would be, maybe a little bit more like I think Mr. Hunneman in The Holdovers, Paul Giamatti's character, who isn't he's rough on you, but he's likable because he's still a good guy. Like, he means well. He's just a little rough around the edges. Whereas like Cage doesn't really mean well. He's like, I've been robbed. I'm entitled to all this. Like, he's got this big house. He's 2 beautiful daughters. This lovely wife played by Julianne Nicholson. Like, he's got it all, but he just isn't happy with it. He wants the fame. He wants the renown. This is also, it's a fascinating premise, but it's one of those things, a great premise, but you don't really know how to wrap it up. And I feel like that kind of happens to this movie. It's an interesting thing to say, yeah, people are dreaming about you, but like the rules for why this is happening or how it's kind of changing are never made clear. And there's never a real good way to kind of wrap this up. I've heard this compared to a Black Mirror episode, or would be better as like a half-hour Black Mirror episode. And that might be true. It is trying to take on some issues about like cancel culture and, like you said, parasocial relationships and just what happens when you're internet famous but not really famous. Those sorts of kind of more modern, complex questions.
Yeah, like it tries to kind of walk into this area of like what it's like to achieve fame without having any control over what people say and do and think about you, right? Like Chris Stuckman compared it to like gossip tabloids you see at like grocery store checkouts, right? With like celebrities' faces on them and goofy headlines that they in no way have contributed to or care about. And suddenly there'll have people at the grocery store who are like, oh, I can't believe Tom Cruise did this. That's terrible, right? Like, there's no way Tom Cruise deserves that hate. He doesn't do anything. And like, I kind of get that. And the cancel culture stuff is funny. I got a big laugh out of that line after things start to turn for him. Paul goes to his publicist, like, what can I do? How can I get my message out or say something? And they're like, well, we can get you on Rogan and Tucker Carlson. Like, that was, that's funny. You go on to do the cancel culture tour. Like, that's a good time, but it does end up long. I've one of the most common things I heard from anybody talking about this movie was the ending is odd and does not really stick the landing. In the total opposite way Love Lies Bleeding does. I think the ending is odd, but totally works. This one, it didn't really get there for me. It was a little weird. And I agree. Like, I think the formula works a little better as something like a Black Mirror episode. Now, that being said, I do think there are some really cool ideas in here. I think there's some really cool ideas. There's one particular scene that I think a lot of people have talked about, right kind of in the middle of this film, a romance scene that is so uniquely awkward and strange that, like, I can't help but like it. Like, by itself in a bottle, that scene is rad, dude. And there's a few of these. Like, there's a couple of really great effects. I love when Paul has to put on a Freddy Krueger glove and like sweater for a photo shoot. They're like, well, yeah, you're in dreams. It's cool, right? Like, and Michael Cera's like Thoughts Company is really funny that like handles his stuff. Like, all of that works good. It just didn't hold my interest. I guess like Glenn Howerton's character, Dennis, in Always Sunny, has that line about dreams. He's like, it's like somebody telling you to dream. At some point, I just don't care. At some point, I'm just disinterested because it's like so broken from reality that I just can't really stick with it long enough to get me over the finish line where I think the film is headed. But I do think it's a unique script, and I think it's a unique project. It's just, I don't know. Didn't quite get all the way there for me.
Yeah, it needed a few more drafts. The premise is really interesting. Like, it starts very strong, but it needed some more editing and revisions about how are we going to take our character and story, and how are we going to kind of resolve his issues, because I feel like Paul doesn't get better. Like usually when you
No.
have a character like this, he improves by the end of the film, like Mr. Hunnam in The Holdovers. In this, he just gets worse. He seems to be a
Yeah.
worse person at the end than he is at the beginning, but he has kind
Right.
of gotten some of the things that he thought he wanted out of life.
Yeah. Like not bad overall. I did want to ask Andy, where did it land on you in the sense of being a comedy? Because I didn't get that many laughs out of it. I feel like maybe I should have, maybe if I'd gone to see it in a
There
theater
were
and not just watched it at home, I would have got more out of it.
There's a couple of really good. There's a very awkward romantic exchange that's the midpoint of the film that I think that I laughed out loud at, and that probably would have killed in a crowd. But I don't
Yeah.
think people saw that with the crowd. And the other thing is that this was a holiday release. This was a Thanksgiving release movie, and I was like, who? Why would you take, like, I wouldn't want to take my friends or family to see this over the
No.
holidays. Like, oh my God. And I
Yeah.
again, and I mentioned this before the show, it invokes to me the movie Family Man, which also starred Nick Cage, about like a corporate yuppie who learns the value of family and friends. And I thought we were kind of going down that path, and it really doesn't. And I'm surprised it didn't.
Yeah, like overall, and I like Family Man, by the way. Like overall, like I do think I get why Cage picked the movie. Like watching it, I'm like, I totally see, yes, like why he's into this, and hearing that he kind of paired it with these other two features he took on, like I could see what he's doing here. He's going for it. He's a great job. It's just I don't know. The script didn't quite pull me in the way the trailer does. You know, like the first 2/3 of it, I'm like, all right, this is pretty good, and then it starts to wander. Unique ending for sure. I wish I could say I was warmer on it, but I've heard good things. God, like from people, from usually reviewers I respect, they've all come out and said, yeah, it's a good time. A little odd in the end, but you know, whatever. Overall, like probably a good time. So now I got to ask you, Andy, would you recommend Dream Scenario?
Well, this is just streaming this week, or newly this week on Max, and I would say it's a save it for streaming kind of film. If you didn't run out and go see it at Thanksgiving, and you're interested in the premise, and you like Nick Cage, and you're in for something that's a little bit different, I would say check it out. But if you're not really interested in it, I would say probably soft pass.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would love to say this reminds me of like Beau is Afraid, another Astor production. A lot of people have compared it to Adaptation, Charlie Kaufman, Spike Jonze films. Like, and it's definitely odd in that way, but it's not made from those filmmakers. Like, this is somebody who's not new in the space, but is growing and is trying new things and is writing for themselves, Kristoffer Borgli, and that's okay. But you're not going to get the exact same experience. Dream Scenario is good. I don't know if it's great. But yeah, that's Dream Scenario. I'm in the same boat. Watch it on streaming if you can, which is probably where you will because it's on Max. Go check it out there. My God, Andy, episode 246 flies by with the bullet. What are we watching next week?
Next week, March 26th, we'll be back with. We're going to have to pick two of these, but these are the three big releases this week. Immaculate, which is the Sydney Sweeney religious horror film. That's a hot 90 minutes, and Sydney Sweeney's in the moment right now. She's like larger than life, so we're going to be checking that out. Another horror movie we really want to check out started David Dalmatian, Late Night with the Devil, which we talked about the trailer just a couple weeks ago. That's also out. And then the big studio release is Ghostbusters Frozen franchise, Frozen Empire, which we're which we're not interested in seeing. We'll see. We have to discuss this, but those are the three big releases, so it'll be at least two of those three. And we'll be back. We'll see what that's like.
Yeah, I listen. It is hard to believe in the year of our Lord 2024 that I might pass on a Ghostbusters feature. But look, I'm only getting older, and the idea of like schlubby plumbers like chain smoke on their way around New York and busting ghosts is a lot more appealing than me than like the family feature that it's become. I don't know, like I'm just not that warm on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Maybe it'll be a good time. Maybe it'll have banger reviews. We'll see. If I could swing it, I'd love to check out Late Night with the Devil. I don't know if we can find a screening. We'll look. We've been kind of eyeballing it, see if we can find something. As for Immaculate, I tell you what, this movie's only getting more interesting the more I find out about it. I was not that interested before, but Sweeney's produced it from a script she read for in 2014. I hear it's got a wild ending. I don't know what that means, but hey, that's exciting. And that tight 90s certainly doesn't hurt either. So We'll see what we end up watching for the show. If you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script Film Review, easiest way to keep up with us, just subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform or video platform if you can swing it. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia. You might be listening to us there right now, and we appreciate you listening. You might be watching us on YouTube, where we upload our shows, individual reviews. Lots of good things happening on the YouTube channel. So many good things happen on the YouTube channel. I got to get back on top of it because I think I'm backed up. I think I might be behind on the YouTube channel. There's so much going on. So come check us out over there. Throw us a little love. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual social media places. You can follow us over there. Our website is offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can email us correspondence directly at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. A lot of good things happening over there. Andy's been doing interviews around the country about Oscar stuff, and I'm not kidding. It's a real thing. They call him Dr. Draper. It's amazing. You got to go check out the website. There's great things going on over there. Please go check it out. And that's us at Off Script episode 246. Episode 250 coming. Oh boy, we got plans. If only we knew what they were. From all of us at Off Script, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
I almost didn't make the outro. Thanks for watching.